It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway for another day and a good afternoon. Welcome in 12:04. Thank you for being with us. Pleasantries and all of that on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Bel K, I just said a sentence I never thought that I would say in my life. And it was, do you like it warm, Cameron? Because if you like it warm, I can make it warm for you. You want warm? Oh, that's better.
That's better than saying, do you like it moist?
I think moist is a perfectly serviceable word, so I'll just leave it. Don't you talk until I get the pleasantries out of the way there, buddy boy. I know I brought your name up, and that's supposedly an invitation for you to talk, but we'll explain why Cameron Smith is sitting in the studio with me in just a moment after I remind you that it is episode 490 of these proceedings on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here we are. Here we go. It's for Friday, January 12th, 2024. Believe it or not, for those of us here and around the bill, it's payday today. I think if you get paid on the 15th, I think it's payday for you.
Yeah, because it's a holiday, so they pay us the previous business day.
That's pretty nice. That's a nice thing to see when you open up the old bank account this morning for what it is worth. The paltry amount is there, paltry though it may be. We've got a lot to get into. Obviously, it's Fry-J. Fry-J starts at 1:05 precisely as we welcome Jay St. Clair to the proceedings. He'll talk to us about the ridiculousness that's going on in New York City with the Donald Trump trial. I don't know exactly how. I understand that there are certain boundaries, but I don't know exactly how you exclude the individual who's on trial from offering his closing argument defense. But that's exactly what happened. But this ruling is baked in the cake. So we'll talk with Jay about that, amongst the other trials.
Can I make a comment on that?
Sure.
Does it not seem like they're doing everything they can to give him options for appeal?
Well, whether or not that is their intent, it is what they're doing. We're going to get into more of this in just a second because I'm curious. Cameron's got a legal background as well, so I'm curious Cameron's thoughts on that. So Jay at 1:05, Friday Mac Attack at 2:05. It is our opportunity to kind of let the news of the week, just fade away and have a little fun with Mac Morey back in the newsroom, Bel K, and myself. That is at 2:05 this afternoon. Your telephone calls all afternoon long as we open up the phone line, 615-737-9986. We also open up the super text line where Wendy has written in and said, episode 490 doesn't feel an episode more than 1,000. I'm going to choose to believe. I'm going to decide that that's a compliment. I don't think it is, but I'm going to decide that, Wendy, you're complimenting us, that 1 3-hour session with Matt Murphy feels like an absolute lifetime. It reminds me of what I used to say about living in Connecticut. I lived in Connecticut for about 9 months. And I tell people, they ask me, how was living in Connecticut? And I say, well, let me put it this way. If you go to the doctor and he tells you you have 9 months to die, I encourage you to move to Connecticut. Not because it will be a wonderful place to spend your final days, but because by the time the 9 months is over, you'll want to die. Ba-dum-bum. Also on the show today, because we did not have him on Wednesday, Cameron Smith joins us. He writes for the Tennessean. He writes for other publications. It's too many to keep up. You hear him regularly on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. He's a part of the family. Hello, Cameron.
Can I talk now?
Yes, you may.
Oh.
Thank you.
Hello, Matt.
Thank you. How are you?
This 1,000 episodes. Who's counting, really?
I am. I'm counting. I'm counting, and Wendy points that out, that 490 feels like a lifetime. We're almost to 500. I'm very excited.
Yeah,
that's a big one. That's a half 1,000. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good one. Maybe we'll do something special, Bel. Maybe Bel will do something special for me. Perhaps Dan Mandis will bake us a cake.
For 500, I probably would. That's a legit milestone.
That's a nice round number. Yeah, I would agree. All right, well, let's.
It's Friday. What are we talking about?
I don't know. I thought you might have something. Who are the Knights?
Nolensville Knights Wrestling. It's a wrestling club in Nolensville.
Okay, so I thought Nolensville was. I thought they were the Panthers.
That's for the youth football program.
Okay,
this is a point of contention because there's a conversation about renaming.
Starting
to
sound like Auburn.
They should change their name too. They should change their name
to the Plainsmen.
The Plainsmen,
or the War Eagles.
The Farmers. Auburn Farmers.
Anyway, overalls, the Auburn overalls.
Yep,
that would be good too. So the wrestling club is the Knights.
Yeah. Nolensville's got some great wrestling right now, but the point of contention is the one team that's kind of like, the outlier in Nolensville is the Panthers. That's been the youth football program, while the high school came after the youth football program, and their name is the Knights. So now a lot of programs are the Knights. We're kind of thinking about changing the name,
Okay, maybe this is me, but if you had stopped by and said, hey, what are the nicknames? What's the nickname of the Nolensville High School athletics program? I would have said the Panthers. I don't know why, but I would have.
Because I've talked about the Panthers all the time.
That's all right, because you were a coach with the youth football team, and it was the Panthers, and you were talking about how awesome you are. And did you win a game this year?
Yeah, we did.
Did you?
We did, in fact.
Dadgummit. I was hoping you'd go. Well, that means you might be in the running for the Alabama Crimson Tide head coaching vacancy.
Yes, I've heard this.
They better get in front of the Tennessee Titans. I hear they're coming after you, too.
Yeah, well, it's a hard week, Matt. I'm struggling through this difficult time of coaching carousel.
I want to talk to you about it.
Okay,
I do.
I can do it.
I think we need to work this out. I had Greg McElroy on yesterday.
Really?
I was very excited that Greg agreed to do it and was able to do it. I mean, obviously, Greg's a big deal.
Yeah.
ESPN, ABC. I think he's the best outside of probably Herb Street. I didn't say this to him. I said he was the best, but he probably knows that. Outside of Kirk Herbstreit, who I think is very good as an analyst, I think Greg McElroy is the best thing going in college football.
Probably, but I loathe his objectivity. Like I'm an Alabama guy, man.
Yeah,
You're an Alabama guy.
I can see
Why
that.
are you doing this
I can
to
see
me?
that because I applaud it.
Right.
I applaud his objectivity.
He is. He's very objective. He is not a homer for Alabama. And I'm like, you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Do you know how many refs we pay in a given season? Like, we want home cooking.
It's the way that I treated David Pollack when he was on ESPN. It was like, how dare you say that you think Georgia's going to struggle in this game? You're a Georgia man. Exactly. And Greg McElroy, he looks me straight in the face, and he's like, Alabama's not very good right now. And I'm wrong.
What?
I don't want to hear that out of you.
You can't say that.
Get that nastiness out of your
There
potty
he is.
mouth.
Yeah.
Truth has no place in this conversation.
Yeah, well, in addition, look, the super text line finds new and inventive ways to hate you every time you're on the radio with us. And now some are just discovering that you're a Bama man.
How?
Despite the fact that you grew up in Tennessee.
How?
I think that's what bothers them more than anything, is that you grew up in Brentwood, for goodness sake.
Mm-hmm.
You had every opportunity to go Big Orange, and you went the other way.
I was born in Memphis, raised outside of Nashville, to an Alabama football player. I didn't have a choice. Quit acting like there's choice in this matter. And then, I mean, how do you guys on the super text line, how do y'all have been Vols fans forever? Like, how did you survive that level of embarrassment for that long?
Vol for life, man.
Mm-hmm.
Although, man, they got a quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, while we're talking football, did you see any of that bowl game? That guy's got a rifle. What is his name? Miko? Something or another. I don't know. I couldn't pronounce his last name on a bet. Oh no, I can. Actually, Bell taught me how to pronounce his name the other day.
Mm.
Remember how to pronounce their quarterback's last name?
Googly Moogly.
Googly Moogly. It's Mika Googly Moogly is quarterbacking for the. That's, by the way, anytime I can't pronounce someone's name,
that becomes the go-to.
It's going to be Googly Moogly.
I support great volunteer football so that I can hate it more. Like, that's a big thing for me. I need the Vols to be good. It's true.
It is such a backhanded, insulting way to support them. And I hear you, because I love college football because of this type of stuff. It's like, hey, guys, it doesn't feel very good to beat you anymore because we've done it so much. Could y'all get a little better so we could beat you when you're better so that we could feel good about it? Thank you.
How are you doing versus in-state rival Vanderbilt? I know how to play this game, Matt. I'm an expert. I've been trolling for a long time in college football, and it's how it's done.
I love how angry people get.
Yes.
And I used to be there in my late 20s and into my 30s. And then I realized that I'm not going to let any of this. I got way too much going on to let any of this.
And I expect it back, too. Like, I expect the Super Talk text line and the listeners who hear this to be like, let me tell you how much I hate the Tide. And I'm like, do it. Do it now.
What I want to know is what directional school you guys are going to go to for a coach, because you're getting turned down right and left. That's what I hear.
To the best of my knowledge, we have not extended an offer to a head coach.
Well, Jimmy Sexton will tell you when you get to extend an offer to a head coach. And that's what I actually, and I'm kind of serious, I hate the fact, is someone not concerned that there's one guy that controls like all of the coaching contracts, and so he manipulates the process every time something like this comes up?
I'm just the one that I'm enjoying right now. So my dad is a former Alabama football player. He's got all his buddies on a text line or on a text message, and I'm on it too. And they keep talking about how, like, I keep saying Lane Kiffin. Like, it's going to wind up being Lane Kiffin. And they
kind of like to say,
and they're like, he's not classy. And I'm like, guys, I have seen the pictures from back in the day. I don't know what leg y'all are standing on, but if we're going classy, I like a national championship a little on the trashy side. I'm just going to say it. I don't want 8 classy wins. That's Mike Shula. I don't care. Lane Kiffin is winning 10 games at Ole Miss, where the cocktail party is more popular than the game.
My dad said, son, that ain't no kid. That's a cocktail waitress in a Dolly Parton wig. I said, I know, Dad. Ain't she cool? She's got 6 championship rings to go. But whatever. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Oh, hey, you never told your Peacock joke.
Do you want me to tell the Peacock joke?
Yeah, I mean, why not?
You want me to tell the Peacock joke?
Sure. It's Friday.
Here's the Peacock joke. You guys tell me if this is over the top or not. I have been told by management not to tell the Peacock joke, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
Okay.
We're about to have snow. All hell's about to break loose in the state of Tennessee because we've got, 2 inches coming or whatever. So why not? Cameron's here on a Friday. We got a lot to discuss. We'll talk about the possibility of war. We'll talk about the general. All of that is coming. Never you fear. We got 3 hours. But here's the Peacock joke. So I read an article. I don't know if you saw this or not, Cameron, but the playoffs, the NFL playoffs are going on. Mm-hmm. And I read an article talking about the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Miami Dolphins at Arrowhead Stadium. And it was saying that for the first time in NFL history, for the first time, a network has decided to only offer the game exclusively on a streaming service.
Right.
Which, for the majority of the time I was reading the article, I was very, very confused because they're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and this and that and the other thing, and then they keep bringing up Peacock, and I'm thinking, is this Taylor Swift's nickname for Travis Kelce? But no, but it's not. It's a streaming service.
I see what you did there.
I'm talking about the big bird. There's a big bird. No, it's a big bird. It has feathers. It shows off.
Yeah.
See what I did there on Super Talk TV? Speaking of Super Talk TV, Super Talk TV is up and running until they pull the plug. It is on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And when I do that wrong, I get confused. It's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. And you can find us there. You can see me. You can see Cameron Smith and his lovely Knights Wrestling pullover. Episode 490. They're always entitled by Bel K. And today's title is
Murphy Show. We take life with a grain of salt, a slice of lemon, and a shot of tequila. Libertarian lunch, noon to 3. Fruit Peacock tail.
That's why you wanted me to tell them.
That's a really long title.
Hey,
they get longer.
Genius knows no bounds.
By it's episode 490. By like episode 1,000, they'll take up the entire first segment.
Or first hour.
Give you a treatment. I do want to find out who your go-to would be for coach, though, in just a second.
Okay.
I don't know why I care about what you think about it, but I do. And does it not bother the Sexton thing? Doesn't bother you? The fact that he manipulates all of this?
No. As long as he manipulates everything all the time, it's fine.
I mean, he's driving prices up. I mean, I guess it's good if you can get it. I mean, I wouldn't turn him down as my agent.
Yeah.
But what he does, he takes people that he represents who he knows aren't going to get the job, and he floats their name for the job. And the schools that have the job opening know what he's doing because they want somebody different that he also represents. And so he drives the price for Washington up, and he drives the price for Florida State up or wherever it is. And he tells the AD, Greg Byrne, to, I know that you have your guy, but just hold off for a second so I can get some good contracts in place with these other guys while I float all of these rumors. And then eventually you get your guy. You don't care? You
So
don't care.
you're
Yeah, I
telling
can tell you you
you're
don't
telling me he's good at his job.
I'm telling you that it's become a monopoly,
Yeah.
and monopolies are wrong. I mean, if you want to take the serious side of it, yes, it's wrong that he negotiates against himself and holds these schools almost in a blackmail-y type of way.
If you define the monopoly circle as elite coaching representation, that's a
know.
real tiny monopoly.
I don't know. I'm not that. I haven't researched it that much. It just feels it. You know what? Beyond everything else, I'm not saying it's illegal. I'm not saying that it
Right.
shouldn't be happening. It feels icky.
Yeah, that's fair.
It feels icky. That's all.
What if I told you these programs have more money than God?
Yeah, but these programs are consistently asking you and me for more and more and more money. Now, buying the incredible amount of money that it costs for a season ticket, or the incredible amount of money that it costs for just a get in, is not enough. They're asking me to spend money now on playoff games and championship games and trips to Pasadena or whatever if you're a good program. And now, above and beyond to that, hey, you need to open your wallet because we got NIL, and if we're going to keep Carson back, it's going to cost us $2 million, and we need you to pay for that. We're not paying for that out of the $150 million the program made over the last 3 years. We're paying that out of your wallet, and I don't understand how that works.
Well, free markets.
If you're going to be a business, and pay your own employees.
But what if somebody else will do it, Matt?
Like me?
Yeah. What if you'll buy the $40 beer?
Yeah, this is me moaning and complaining on January 12th. But come game day in September, I'm sitting in Athens, Sanford Stadium, man.
Isn't this beer excellent for this price?
So good. It's like $12.50 for a
Wonderful.
6 ounce.
Right.
Oh boy. 1221 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So your foundation is important. I mean, you probably know that. The foundation of your home matters. You probably know that as well. But do you know how it's doing? Have you had it checked out? Have you talked to USS, who are simply the best in the business when it comes to structural repair and foundation and waterproofing within your home? USS, they are the best. They'll come out to your house. You get problem solvers. They don't try to upsell you on anything. That's not their business model. Their business model is to identify what's wrong with your house and fix that and that alone, and give you peace of mind tonight or tomorrow or the next time when they finally have it fixed, and you know that you don't have to worry about your foundation. If you're smelling that smell, and you probably know it if you've opened the basement or crawl space and you smell that musty smell, that's a problem. It's not going to stop until you fix it. Let's go ahead and make the call that so many others have made. Over 25,000 satisfied customers have used USS in the 30 years now that they have been in business. Since 1994, people have been calling the best USS, keeping homes stable and dry since that time in Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. Give them a call like so many others have done, 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, or USSTN.com, USSTN.com. Friends, do you know what's going on within your body? Do you know that there could be things, and I hope that there aren't, but there could be things that are going on inside of your body that are negative in terms of your health that you don't know about, because things happen before they become symptomatic. It's time to cut through that with Kraft Body Scan. Right now in January, they want to remind you that heart disease is the #1 killer in the United States of America, lung cancer, the #1 cancer killer in the United States of America. And you can get a heart and lung scan at Kraft Body Scan right now for $149. This is a value of about over $2,000, but they're giving it to you as a way to introduce themselves to the community. They've been here for just less than a year to talk about the incredible CT scan technology that's available that can identify issues going on within your body long before you feel symptoms. And that is what it's all about. A private health consultation will happen before you get scanned. Then you get scanned on site. It's about a 5 to 8 minute process. You don't take your clothes off or anything like that. I mean, you don't have to do all of that because it gets inside the body with the CT scan. The images are then reviewed by their board certified radiologist, and the results are presented to you in person and via email. It is a wonderful technology, and I want you to take advantage of it with you and a couple, a spouse, I should say. So you and a spouse, or you and a brother, or you and a sister. Go there for $149. Get that heart and lung scan. 615-436-1000, 436-1000. Get right with your health. Feel good. Peace of mind. CraftBodyScan.com. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jason, I see you. I have read you, and I'm not repeating that on the radio. You got to watch Jason.
I love Jason.
I love Jason to death.
He is so funny, and you just, most of it you cannot repeat.
The last line that he just delivered about, I tell my wife all hell's going to break loose, and
yeah, you can say that. He was talking about snow.
You want to say that? I'm not saying that.
You want me to?
Sure.
No,
don't say it that way. I would alter the verbiage just a little bit. Anyway, we are getting some snow Monday.
I've heard this.
It is a holiday for many people. Mm-hmm. I'll be here from noon until 3, never you fear. I think Hand is taking the day off, but Brian Wilson will be in Iowa that day. Have you heard this?
Mm-mm.
Wilson's going out to Iowa
you told me this.
for the caucuses. Caucus.
Is he going to just sit around?
I guess so he's going to. It's going to be. So I'm listening to Brian, and I use the word complaining in air quotes. I don't think he's really complaining, but he was grumping. I think that's a better way to put it. That it's going to be -3, and he's like, it's going to be -3. That what am I doing? It's going to be -3, and I thought, well, whatever. I mean, it's the Midwest, and it gets to -3 at night. Now that's the high. I'm thinking, it's 16 degrees during the day. It's -3. No, that's the high temperature.
That's morally wrong.
You sort of get sympathetic for him when you find out it's the high.
I'm wondering, who does this help? Who does this hurt? They're not going to cancel the caucus.
No.
But you're asking people to go out in literally -35-degree wind chill conditions to go and stand in a room with other people and say, I want this guy, no, I want this guy, I'll know I want this guy. That's a lot.
Yeah. But these are the people that chose to live in a place where that's a thing.
Well,
so for us, that's insane, and we would not leave our homes.
Right.
Like, no, absolutely not. We'd make French toast, and we would call it a day. The Iowans are like, we are hardy people.
I remember when I was a kid thinking this. I saw some news story about Minnesota, and I asked, I think it was my grandmother, it's like, what's going on in Minnesota? Like, how awesome must Minnesota be that they put up with this crap for 3 months out of the year?
Well, I had to do a speaking thing in Minnesota years ago, and they said, well, just don't go outside. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It was in January, and they said, no, you go underground. Don't go outside or it could burn you.
What?
And I'm like, what? You have a series of tunnels like hamsters because the place you live will burn you with cold? And they're like, well, we don't put it that way, but yes. And I'm like, this is insane, you people. What are you doing?
It reminds me, remember Sam Kinison, the comedian, the yelly comedian? It reminds me of the Sam Kinison bit And he was so funny, and it was so inappropriate. But this is when the famines in Ethiopia were going on. And he started talking about it. He goes, "Why don't you just move to where the food is?"
Yeah.
It's
This is sand. Nothing grows in it.
Nothing grows there. Let's move.
Because it's home, right? And it's weird.
I guess,
And
yeah.
I'm telling you, the Northerners that I know in these exotic places where the cold can burn you, they come to our place and they're like, this is like Satan's bunghole in August. Why do you live this way where you sweat when you wake up?
Right.
And we're just like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, no, I mean, I know everything's relative in that regard because we get lambasted. Anytime there's an ice storm in the South, the national news media just destroys us. Like, look at these idiots. They don't know what they're doing. And I would suggest to you that the same thing happens in the middle of August when it's 95 degrees in New York City and they don't know what's going on. They don't know what to do about it.
Yeah, so how do we get cooler? One, take off your clothes, and two, like you don't. Like it's just hot. That's what it is.
I have a strong conviction that cold is better than hot, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Cold,
I like it.
All right, so and here's my methodology. Cold preserves things.
Yep.
Heat spoils things.
Mm-hmm.
When a group of people are very cold, what do? Hey, guys, huddle up. Let's huddle up for warmth. Let's get together for warmth. Let's act as a team. When people are really hot, what do they say? Get away from me!
Yeah.
No, I think the heat drives people apart and the cold brings people together. That's my theory.
Right. I also have been a teenager in Panama City, and so the heat, there are certain other things that, like the less clothing thing, that I was a big fan of as a younger man, and the whole let's cover up and cuddle with our big jackets and parkas
That's
seems
true, too.
less awesome.
Orange
Just
Beach
saying.
sex hole.
The what? Oh, yes. Yes.
You know.
I do.
You know. If you don't know what the orange, I'll tell you what. If 20 people on the super text line want to hear the story,
Yes.
I will tell you the story of Orange Beach Sex Hole, which if I ever start a band, my band will be named Orange Beach Sex Hole.
That's a real thing, folks.
And that is a real thing that happened in Orange Beach, Alabama.
I'm going to trademark that tonight so you can't
somebody's Googling that right now, and it's there.
It's real.
It's real.
If enough of you ask for it, you'll get it. It's 12:32. In the meantime, we're going to talk war. We're going to talk war in a number of different ways. We'll talk war on the General Assembly front in the state of Tennessee. We'll talk actual war as Joe Biden has engaged in a military operation that some would suggest he needed congressional approval to do. We'll ask Cameron what he thinks about that in just a moment. 12:33 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk about Savory Spice with 2 locations, one on Charlotte Pike, the other in Franklin to serve you. Savory Spice can save you. They serve you, but they save you in January and February and March. Let me tell you what I mean. So I know what you did. You, on January 1, made some resolutions, and you said to yourself, man, oh man, like I did, because I did this. I've gained weight over the holidays. I ate every sweet thing that I came in eye contact with, and now it's time to get back on the plan and lose that weight that I gained over the holidays. And so now you're eating foods that frankly suck. You're eating bland vegetables and the like, maybe a chicken breast with no skin on it, whereas all the flavor is, and you need something to up that food game. Well, they have it at Savory Spice. They make those veggies and that bland protein palatable. They make it actually taste delicious with some of their incredible blends that they have at Savory Spice. They have the Mexican street corn blend. I love this on all veggies. They've got the veggie blend. They've got different spices and salts for your meats. I mean, it is unbelievable the amounts that they have. Plus, they have popcorn sprinkles. I gave Belle Kay some popcorn sprinkle for the holidays. They used to have glitter syrup, but they sold out of that. I mean, they've got it all at Savory Spice except for glitter syrup. So, go see them. 2 locations, once again, one in Franklin, right off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. Tell them I said hello. Holly and David want to see you at the one and only Savory Spice. You heard her. She rhymed bowl and cereal. She did it. I know you hate the song, but you'll come to love it because it signifies something. It's Friday. It's not Friday Eve. It's Friday. And it is a moral imperative that you get down on Friday. I want to thank all of you that make our weekends so special. We anticipate the weekends, those of us who have a couple of days off on Saturday and Sunday, but we do anticipate the weekend because of the people that make it possible, like the firefighters, the police officers, the emergency responders, EMTs, and the like, and all of you restaurateurs, convenience store workers, all of you weekend warriors that make our weekend so special, we thank you. It's 1239 Super Talk 99.7 WTN with Cameron Smith in a special Cameron Smith visit. because you weren't here on Wednesday because I was so busy.
It's much more serious on Wednesday. Friday is very much like, let's just chill.
It is. And I've done the official count, and it's way in excess of 20 people wanting to know the Orange Beach sex hole story.
It should be.
It absolutely should be. So let Cameron Smith and I take you back to a simpler time. I don't know, some 10 years ago. This is about 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
And Orange Beach, Alabama. Alabama's got a little small sliver of the coast.
Yes.
They deserve more. And I've long believed that Alabama, if they wanted to, could take over the panhandle.
From Florida, yeah.
Yeah, from Florida. This is ours now.
Yep.
You know, Pensacola, Panama City.
Florida might actually cede that part.
I mean, it is called the Redneck Riviera for a reason. So, but they've got Gulf Shores and Orange Beach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Orange Beach, there's a lot of spring breakers that come down from a variety of points all across America. Maybe some people in Nashville choose to vacation.
The Orange Beach is like the classy beach.
Right. The Gulf Shores, whatever.
You go to Gulf Shores, Fort Morgan, then you skip over Mobile Bay and you're in Dauphin Island, right?
Right.
And then you go the other way and you got Panama City, Destin, those things. But Orange Beach, they're classy people.
They expect a little more from their folks. And spring break was slowly but surely degrading. Panama City has long had issues.
Yep.
And some of those issues were coming over to Orange Beach, to the point that the mayor, seemingly out of the blue, but actually it wasn't, came out with an ordinance that beachgoers on Orange Beach were no longer allowed to dig beach holes.
Right.
And you're like, what is that all about? So if you've ever been to the beach, you see, people
dig,
they're there and people dig, because it's easy and, you bury your dad or whatever,
Right.
or you build a sandcastle and you dig a moat. And they were told that they were no longer allowed to dig holes. And so when various reporters, including me, contacted Tony Kennan, is his name. He's the mayor of Orange Beach still. Said, what's the deal? He said, well, spring breakers were getting on the beach and they were digging these big holes and they were getting in them and having sex.
Yep. That was an actual thing that happened.
And so I said, I think Orange Beach Sex Hole is a great name for a rock and roll band, and I want to start that up sometime.
So that's government for you, though. Instead of letting them dig the hole and have sex inside the hole, it's like, just do it on the beach where everybody can see.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they want them, to go to the old Key West Inn or whatever they call it, but.
Well, the idea that the problem here is the hole.
Right. Like, if we just eliminate the hole, it would stop all of the partying and the drinking and the sex.
Right. It was all the digging. They dug the hole and then, you just trip, fall in, and it's a sex hole. So, I mean, that's what people were concerned about. And that was actually a conversation in the great state of Alabama. And
like how to deal with the sex holes.
Yeah. Do you fill them in? Like, I guess you fill them in. And because I have a 12-year-old sense of humor, there were just you can't. You can't. It's just my boys are listening. They are like making so many jokes right now.
Right, because I think you're dealing with. Never mind.
Yep.
No, I can't. See,
you're right. You can't. It just gets weird.
For all of you that don't believe that I have a filter, you just saw it because I almost made a joke that I think would have legitimately got me into a lot of trouble. So I decided against it.
Moving on.
Anyway, moving on. As Dan Mandis would say, that's the Orange Beach sex hole story. Wendy said, I've never heard Orange Beach described as classy. Well, you, ma'am, have never been to Gulf Shores.
Or
Panama City.
Panama City. Come on, folks. If you have never been to the Floribama, Club La Vila.
I've been.
I mean, there are a lot of different ways to experience not classy, but yeah, Orange Beach is that's the high level.
John writes in and says, "Great state of Alabama. That's an oxymoron." Oh, come on. There's some good parts.
That's hurtful.
There's some good parts of Alabama, mostly having to do with I-65. Kevin says, way too much buildup for that story. Kevin, that's a great story. A government of our United States of America decided that it was important enough to take a vote and pass an ordinance disallowing the digging of holes on a beach because 3 or 4 people decided that they wanted to be dumb and have relations in said hole. Instead of just dealing with those people that were having the relations, they had to ruin it for that. There's so many components to this that are so delicious. What are you talking about?
And can you think about the enforcement of that ordinance to be like, there's some like a family that's digging a hole on the beach. You can't dig the hole.
Well, why not?
Why not? What is the purpose of that hole you're digging?
And now you got to tell Mr. Smith in front of his 8-year-old kid,
right,
why the 8-year-old kid can't keep digging his hole.
Well, that might be used for a sex hole. And I can just see some officer saying that, and it just cracks me up every
No
single
sex holes in Orange
Daddy,
Beach.
what's he talking about? What's he mean sex? What's a sex hole?
Listen to me, young man. You can take that trash down on to Pensacola, but we're not putting up with it here.
Right. It's how?
It's ridiculous.
And also, they're just going to go somewhere else. I mean,
right.
It's not the whole that you're not stopping premarital relations.
What is the purpose of this hole that you're digging? And that to me is just.
Do you have a hole permit? I mean, we could permit. Or you know what they probably figured out is that you can dig a certain size hole.
Yeah, you need a study committee on all this. Dimensions, everything.
Right.
Practicalities.
If that hole is booty sized, then it's too big. You can't have that.
Every police officer shall be issued a tape measure to be used in this process.
Yeah.
And yes, to 5410, that was a part of the joke. You have related a part of the joke that would have gotten me immediately thrown off the air. So congratulations, 5410. You and I think alike. Are we in a war?
What maybe-ish?
Let's turn it more serious. Are we in a maybe?
So I don't know.
It feels like we're in a war.
A Houthi rebel doesn't seem like a. So I was actually, I'll nerd out for a second. The War Powers Act is saying, okay, look, if there's an attack on American assets, the question that I have to answer the question of, well, should Congress have had a vote here and declared something? Or is it simply a notification? Kind of depends on what the targets were doing to American assets and things like that. And if, in fact, they were targeting American assets, then there's a notification provision under the War Powers Act. But again, it just feels like there's no plan.
Nope.
There's nothing.
It feels like this was something that someone within the Biden administration decided would look good. And would maybe accomplish a task, but would also look strong.
So what I've seen with it, and I want to be consistent, and like I said, I use the phrase called balls and strikes. I know some people hate that, but like with the Biden administration, it's we got to do something. But that's not a plan, right? That's just doing stuff. And so this retaliatory, well, they attack some ships. So now they've done it, I think, 27 times. So now we need to attack them. Well, the problem's Iran, right? Mm-hmm. You know that. We all know that. This is common knowledge. And so to basically say we're going to do hand slappy things that we're going to, so we can show we're doing a thing, I don't think projects the kind of strength that most American people expect from our leadership. And that's my concern here is, again, when it's Israel, there's not really a plan. When it's Ukraine, there's not really a plan. And now with these rebels in Iran, there's not really a plan. And this is very concerning. And, oh, by the way, the Secretary of Defense is somewhere.
In the hospital?
I think
still.
Maybe.
We didn't know that for a number of days.
Right.
It got exposed last week. They said it was an elective. Understand, in a normal media cycle, in a media that has not decided to thumb their scale one side to the other, there would be a lot of media questions, and I think by extension a lot more concern by the American public, drawing awareness to the fact that the sixth in line to the presidency, the Secretary of Defense of the United States of America, went in for surgery for cancer and didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, I've got a piece that's coming out. I don't know if it's been published yet in the Tennessean that's calling for him to resign and his chief of staff to resign.
Got to.
Because and this is not political. I don't care about impeachment. I care about you need to step down or Biden needs to fire you, because who's in charge is really important. And, oh, by the way, and this is probably an oversimplification, the person in charge of all the guns and planes and tanks when we have conflicts around the globe, they really matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the president is ultimately in charge, but how they access that is through the Secretary of Defense.
And particularly now, because I don't know of anybody, if they're being true to themselves, that really believes that Joe Biden has the capability to make these decisions as commander-in-chief. So he has to lean even more on his chiefs of staff and his Secretary of Defense.
But Joe Biden didn't know where the guy was.
And he didn't know, and when the Pentagon press corps finally got word that he may or may not have been in the hospital or was in the hospital, when he was hospitalized on January 1st, their initial reaction was to say, oh, well, he went through an elective surgery and had a few complications. Prostate cancer surgery is not elective surgery. You can try to
This was manipulation.
Yeah, you can try to mince the words and say, well, he didn't have to. They intentionally manipulated the words to diminish what was going on, and he is still in the hospital. And Joe Biden, the president of the United States, didn't know. And once again, there should be outrage no matter who the president is, no matter what political party he affiliates himself with.
So Donald Rumsfeld had rotator cuff surgery. And this protocol has existed for a long time. The idea that we need to do better and we need to just study this to see where the breakdown occurred. No, we know exactly where it occurred. Like this process, because the chain of command has to have integrity going forward, this is not I guess we just didn't know. No.
Wait, what do you mean you didn't know?
You have to know. And you have to execute on this with regularity, because the truth is, guess what? The Secretary of Defense is going to have issues from time to time. The Chief of Staff may, other folks. That's normal, and you must communicate. I don't care what it is. And look, a lot of times it's, well, so-and-so had, a torn ligament in their knee, and they had surgery, and they're resting and recuperating at home, and we know what's going on. That is a nothing burger in the media. It makes the AP, and then we move on. However, when you don't and you create an issue out of it, now people are like, does anyone know what's going on? Does the Biden administration know what's going on?
Who advised? Here's what I want to know. Simple. Who knew and when? And why did they not notify the president of the United States? What superior did Austin tell? Which superior did Austin? He had to tell somebody. Didn't he?
So this is in my piece. One of the basically the falling down was Austin, his chief of staff, and the chief of staff gets the flu. The deputy secretary of defense is on vacation. So there's a lot of pieces. But again, the protocol's still clear. Like it doesn't matter. We must communicate, and we must do so in a very quick time frame so we know who's calling the shots. And that just didn't happen. And that's a breakdown that can't happen, and he needs to go.
What amazes me about all of this is Biden doesn't even have the good sense to be embarrassed by it.
No. I mean, I don't know that Joe Biden has a lot of awareness of it. I think at this stage, and I'm not trying to pile on the Joe Biden has dementia bandwagon. There's plenty of people on that, and I include myself in that number. That is not my point here. But I think Joe Biden is being insulated by his handlers now to the point that he doesn't have to deal with any of this.
But this is the biggest concerning thing. And I'm, to the credit of some of the leftist media, they've pointed this out too. If Joe Biden doesn't know that the Secretary of Defense is incapacitated and not available for almost a week, which is apparently what happened, is Secretary Austin in the room? Is Joe Biden talking to him? And the answer is no.
Well, daily intelligence briefings.
Right.
We are told the president of the United States, and I could go back and show you video of Joe Biden saying, well, you have daily intelligence briefing. Well, you can get those briefings in a number of different ways. You can get them in person or whatever.
Yeah.
Who did not include this information in the daily intelligence briefing? I mean, and why wouldn't you think to include that? And to your point, when you're having get-togethers about whether or not the United States of America should launch an airstrike against Houthi targets, potentially creating a scenario where we're in a hot war with Iran, is your Secretary of Defense not in the room?
Right.
And
that's mind-boggling and you can say, well, you had the National Security Advisor, all these other folks, but that's the guy who's in charge of the guns and tanks and planes.
Right. 54 after the hour, 615-737-9986. Jay St. Clair coming up next hour. I may be saying goodbye to Cameron. Who knows? We'll leave it up for grabs. It is The Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, folks, it's Matt Murphy for Defend Systems. I talk quite a bit about Defend Systems and what they do for our community. Defend Systems matters, right? Because Brink Fiddler and his team have been helping people like you. If you are a business owner, if you gather at a church or at a school, whatever your circumstance or situation, if you're a decision maker with regard to those things, you need to listen up because Brink wants to help you. He is a security and consultation firm right here in Middle Tennessee. And right now, their life safety and security consultation firm is looking for someone, maybe you, to act as a marketing and operations coordinator. And I am told by Brink himself, talked last night, that it's time that we get the ball rolling in terms of applications. So responsibilities will include reviewing and reporting the progress and success of marketing campaigns, creating and sending marketing campaigns, newsletters on a monthly basis, maintaining client management. Bottom line this, they're growing and they need someone to assist them with marketing and operations. If you are interested, then I encourage you to go over to defendsystems.com, defendsystems.com. They're an equal opportunity employer for all employees and applicants without regard to any of those matters that they should not regard, like race, color, gender, etc. So please apply today at defendsystems.com and help Brink grow his team that's helping so much in Middle Tennessee and beyond. With Defend Systems, defendsystems.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Cameron's going to hang around. He's family. He can hang around as long as he likes. Jay St. Clair coming up for Friday in moments. And Joel is in Lebanon right now on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, Joel.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
I was going to talk. You guys were talking about the weather in Minnesota. So as someone who is a recovering Minnesotan, I grew up there. I do appreciate Satan's bunghole. I love how hot it is. It's amazing. And just a little story before, I get off the line. It's so cold in Minnesota. When I was 14 years old, of course, I was a dumb teenager, and I was like, I'm not going to wear a hat. I have long hair. The tops of my ears froze solid, and then they swelled up to 3 times their size. So that's how cold it can get in Minnesota. And actually, I was living in Aberdeen, South Dakota before I moved to Tennessee. And I don't need that anymore. I will take Satan's bunghole anytime. Thank you.
We have said Satan's bunghole on this radio show 4 more times than I had on my bingo board. And I think that's the total amount of times that it's been said. Yes. By the way, real quick, Matt, you're a gambling guy. I bet you what they're going to do is declare martial law. I got $100 on it. Bet. That's my money in my wallet. Easy. Benjamin Franklin. Big-headed Benjamin in my wallet. Thank you so much to 2724 for that money. Back in a moment with Fry J. Cameron's going to hang around with us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Tensions rising in the Middle East following the U.S. and Britain airstrikes against Iranian-backed Houthi militants in Yemen in response for attacks on ships in the Red Sea. The Houthis are vowing revenge. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby aboard Air Force One says the U.S. is trying to deter, not escalate.
We're not interested in a war with Yemen. We're not interested in a conflict of any kind here. In fact, everything the president has been doing has been trying to prevent any escalation of conflict, including the strikes last night.
In New York, a hearing scheduled this hour in the Buffalo supermarket shooting case. The Justice Department filed court papers earlier today saying it plans to pursue the death penalty against gunman Peyton Gendron for the racially motivated murders of 10 black shoppers in May of 2022. Gendron is already serving multiple life sentences after pleading guilty to state charges. In Idaho today, a search underway for one victim of an avalanche. It follows the avalanche at a ski resort in California's Lake Tahoe this week that killed one person and injured several others. Avalanche dangers remain high following storms.
At ski resorts around Lake Tahoe, booms can be heard as ski patrol uses explosives to try to trigger avalanches to clear the danger. This week at Palisades Tahoe Ski Resort, an avalanche was deadly. Then another hit, not injuring anybody, at the resort on Thursday. Eric Rotner is a skier at Palisades Tahoe.
For the usual, blasting right there in the background, you can hear that from, several miles away, but that's pretty typical typically. After it snows.
Alex Stone, ABC News.
Volatile storms sweeping across the country. In the Midwest, the Iowa caucus is now just 3 days out. Blizzard conditions on tap today, along with bone-chilling temperatures into Monday. GOP candidates curbing their events, and there's concern the bitter cold could impact turnout. You're listening to ABC News.
It's not getting to -3 in Nashville, Tennessee, or any of the surrounding areas, but it's going to get pretty darn cold. I mean, down to 4 degrees, I think, Monday night. I believe that's right. either Sunday night or Monday night. One way or the other, it is cold, and your heater is going to be working overtime. And if it's not working properly, or God forbid it goes out during these cold conditions, and people wonder, why is it that our AC goes out when it's hottest or the heater goes out when it's coldest? It's Murphy's Law. No, it makes sense, right? It's working harder, and if it has a problem, that's just going to exacerbate that problem and get worse. Well, I have an answer for you. It's Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. He is the man with the plan. He will get to you jiffy quick. He never charges you overtime in the evenings or on weekends. This is an important point to make because Jeff recognizes, he told me early on in our relationship, he goes, I figure your heater doesn't know what time it is, and I shouldn't treat it differently because it's 6:30 rather than 3:30 in the afternoon. So I decided that I'll keep invoices low by not charging overtime rates on the weekends or the evenings. You pay the same 24/7. That's so nice. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, they're trustworthy. They want to earn that trust. Pay them a visit online at efficienthvac.net, efficienthvac.net. Or when the time comes, have this number handy and give them a call, 615-784-4424. They're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and Elite Pro partner with the Rheem. 615-784-4424 for Efficient. Hello. Matt Murphy, hour number 2 starts right now on the Matt Murphy Show on Supertalk 99.7 WTN. It is Friday, January 12, 2024. I'm trying to back up in time. It is episode 490, and I'm pleased you've decided to join us. There's lots going on in the world of warfare as the United States of America has struck back at the Houthis who were launching strikes against commercial vessels in the Red Sea. They had been doing so with a fair amount of regularity. The U.S., along with our British allies, launched airstrikes against the Houthi targets in Yemen last night, in a show of force. Analysts are now warning that it might be a protracted fight from a determined opponent that is well-funded. Thank you, Iran. Iran, well-funded. Thank you, Joe Biden. I mean, I don't think I have to go out on a ledge to connect the dots here to explain that Iran is better able to fund terrorists around that region of the world because we chose to free up some of their money that was being held up by the United States of America and our allies. That money gets freed up for quote-unquote humanitarian purposes, and whether or not that exact money is used for terrorism, it does give them the ability to wiggle money around, an ability they already had. I mean, you can put 2 and 2 together. This is all a byproduct of weakness. I don't know. I'm not one to proclaim that the Hamas attacks on Israel would never have happened had Joe Biden not been president of the United States. I think that is something that none of us could truly see. But I certainly believe that the weakness in the White House has exacerbated the situation and has led to others escalating the situation and creating a dynamic by which at any moment it could become. Am I overstating the case, Cameron Smith, that it could become a world war?
World, maybe not immediately, but certainly regionally. I mean, the Middle East, we're back into...
Or a proxy war in the Middle East?
Yes, I think that's fair, a proxy war, because you kind of did the daisy chain from Iran, and guess what? I mean, we kind of know how the sides are aligning here. You've got Russia, China, Iran, countries like Venezuela kind of in one camp, and then you've got what I'd call the West in the other camp.
Right. Let's call them like the China, Russia, Iran. Let's call those... I don't know what Axis. Let's call those the Axis powers.
Shorthand.
Just call those Axis powers. And United States of America, Great Britain.
Call allies.
Well, we are allies, so we call them allies. Axis and allies. I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, yeah, you're clearly, again, and this is a lack of plan. There is no plan. And that's what has me super concerned right now is when you're talking about war, we should be very reluctant to go to any kind of war at any time for any reason, but certainly when there's no plan. And Joe Biden has not articulated what the game plan is and certainly not what the goal is that advances American interest both at home and abroad. I think we're just sort of drifting right now, and it's dangerous.
In response to questions to the White House by reporters about what Secretary Lloyd Austin had to do with the strikes against the Houthis, they referred to his role as seamless, which I can only extrapolate means that he was wearing a hospital gown which has no seams. I don't. What does that mean? I don't. And the White House also says that they are confident that they are within their legal authority to conduct the airstrikes. It all boils down to the definition of emergency, right?
Yeah, whether we have a national security emergency that's related to essentially what these folks have done.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was reading that the area that they control is like 12%, I think, of the world's commerce. Like, it's not insignificant, but it's what have they attacked that creates this emergency for the U.S.? We should have the debate, but that's what this hinges on, right?
Well, when we're talking about the law and we're talking about definitions under the law, I appreciate your legal mind on this, and I appreciate so much our next guest. We have him every Friday at this time, just after 1 o'clock in the afternoons. He is my good friend. He is my life consultant. He is our legal analyst, and he's my golfing and gambling buddy. I say that because if I don't, Bell K will make a butt of himself. It's Jay St. Clair, everybody. It's Friday. His business card in relation to this radio show is getting longer and longer as we speak. It's Tennessee man. It's legal correspondent. It's life consultant. It's now gambling and golfing buddy. It's Jay St. Clair, everybody. Hey, Jay, what's going on, friend?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm good. You all right?
If I were any better, I would own the law firm that represents Donald J. Trump.
What?
And trust me, I would have a C8Z06. Trust me.
Something tells me you're going to have one of those before you leave this mortal coil anyway, but that's maybe another subject for another day. Jay, we have a special guest in studio with us today. Cameron Smith is here. I think you know Cameron.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Cameron.
I got a couple of legal minds to talk about some of these issues with, and Jay, I want to start with the Donald Trump stuff. I mean, I guess I understand. I'm trying to put my liberal hat on and understand where the judge would be coming from or how to explain away the judge when he tells Donald Trump that Donald Trump's not allowed to offer remarks in the closing arguments of this case in New York City. Now, you've expressed that there's a lot about this case that causes you to scratch your head a little bit. What do you make of the latest that Trump apparently wanted to offer remarks in closing and the judge said, no, you can't because you'll get off subject? What's the deal?
Well, it would be unusual for a party that is represented by a lawyer to make legal arguments. That's not usual. In fact, I've never heard of that in my 40 years of practicing law, man. So, frankly, I think the judge was actually doing Trump a little bit of a favor by giving him the opportunity to, in effect, be his own lawyer.
Right.
But he set out ground rules for that, and apparently the Trump people didn't agree to it. So the whole thing's devolved into a circus. But yeah, that part doesn't surprise. It would have been way out of the ordinary to let Trump make an argument.
Right.
And I think this, really extreme cases and results are much easier to reverse. It happened here in Alabama on tort reform, where there was a 1-hour trial that ended up in a $500 million verdict over a satellite dish. And that's what finally got tort reform here. I mean, this case has become so outrageous that I think even the judge has realized they've gone way too far to one side. So I think he was sort of throwing Trump a bone by saying, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll let you get up and make a political speech, but don't make it political.
Right.
Right. The reason Trump wanted to, do you think Donald Trump was going to argue the law? No, he didn't know the law. He was going to get up and make a political speech. And the judge, frankly, I think he made a mistake when he offered him the opportunity to do that. And then when he realized the mistake, then he makes a second mistake, right, which is reversing himself. But it's a circus, man. It's a circus. But here's the deal. He's going to hammer him. He's absolutely going to hammer him. But it's not a criminal case. It's a civil case. It'll be appealed. And the more outrageous the verdict is, the better it is for Trump on appeal. You know, now the Attorney General up there is asking for, I don't know what, $350 million. And Trump can never set foot in the state of New York again. And he has to turn in all merchandise that he has that says, I love New York. It's kind of like, you know, somebody has been listening to us talk. You know, like people will talk about, can I file this lawsuit? It takes two things to file a lawsuit, right?
Yep.
$400 in a crown. Well, did you see the guy out in Texas that sued Walmart because he claimed, I don't know, false arrest, charged him with shoplifting for something he didn't do. And he filed a lawsuit himself. I would love if it was written down with a crayon. And what he's asking for is free merchandise from Walmart for life. He can go into Walmart
and just pick whatever
anytime he wants to, get anything he wants to, and he doesn't have to pay for it.
What is the basis of the lawsuit, Jay?
I think he's claimed they accused him of shoplifting, and it wasn't true.
That's pretty
$400 in a crayon, man.
So we've well trained the listening audience on these Fridays together that do not ask Jay if I can sue for any reason, because the answer is always yes. Of course you can. Of course you can. Now, what they really want to know is what, Jay?
Am I going to win? If I sue, am I going to win?
So you believe it is fait accompli that, I mean, and it's pretty obvious to even the layman watching this, that it's a judge verdict. For those who haven't been paying close attention, there's no jury in this New York case.
Right.
Didn't Donald Trump want a jury?
Well, he said he did. I don't, frankly, in New York, in Brooklyn or Manhattan, I don't think it would have made a difference. I think he was just saying that because he knows he couldn't get one. Although in this case, it might have made a difference.
I thought in this one that he hit his attorney, said he wanted the trial without the jury, but then he said he wanted the jury.
Right.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Well,
but either way, by law, they're not entitled to a jury. It's an odd. The whole thing about it is very odd.
So he'll get a guilt. The guy will find him guilty. I mean, the judge in the case has already essentially said that he did what they're trying him for, right?
That's right. The only question now is how big of a check does he have to write to the state of New York? And it'll be north of $250 million. And then it'll get appealed, and that appeal will not be decided before the November election.
And
it'll be sitting out there.
And do I have this correct, Jay? And Cameron, you can jump in here too. Donald Trump is being charged with getting good interest rates on loans that he subsequently paid back.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's being charged. I normally don't quibble too much about legal terms, but it's not a criminal case.
Okay.
It's a civil case.
Okay.
So he's being sued.
Okay.
He's being sued because he got better interest rates than he should have gotten on loans. And they say that he saved $250 million as a result of that. And so they want him to pay that money, not to the banks, to the state of New York. Because they call the banks as witnesses, man. You would think they'd be the key witnesses in the case, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, the state didn't call them. Trump called them. And you know what they said? He's one of the best customers we've ever had. we want to loan him more money. He's great. He always pays on time.
The confusing component to this, to people like me, and the reason I use the wrong language in my defense, I mean, it's because it feels like it's a criminal case because it's the state bringing the case. Right. Normally, in a civil matter, Cameron is suing Matt or Jay is suing Cameron. It's not the state involved by suing someone.
No, you're exactly right. You said that exactly right. Everything about it's odd. It's right up there with suing Walmart and saying I ought to be able to shop free for the rest of my life.
I'm going to try that.
Well, because the underlying issue is a non-issue. The banks aren't suing Trump.
No, they're happy.
Right. And so that's Trump's point is nobody was harmed here. Well, the state's argument is, well, the state was harmed because you lied on your asset declaration.
Tell me, I just did this, Jay, because, and I don't know why I did it this time around. I get a lot of emails. I've got a Visa, I've got a MasterCard, I got an American Express, okay? And my MasterCard recently sent me a thing going, hey, we're going to look at your credit limit, and we're going to extend you more credit, but you just need to update a couple things. And so I hit the button, and it wanted me to update my salary. Mm-hmm. So let's say I just put in $1 million, and trust me, I don't earn $1 million. But let's say I put it.
Why would you understate your?
Oh yeah, whatever.
You're doing just what Trump did.
So I put in $1 million, and so
Right.
this is what this feels like. It's the bones of the state's case is that I put in $1 million. And they give me more credit, and they say, you know what, you make so much money, we're going to reduce your interest rate by just 0.25% or whatever. Right. So the state's argument is because I falsified the amount of money that I was bringing in, despite the fact that I'm paying off my bill on time every month, and that the credit card company is perfectly happy with me, that I have done something wrong. I can't figure out what Donald Trump has done wrong here.
No, that's a perfect analogy. It's a perfect analogy, and that's exactly what the state is claiming. You overstated the value of your assets, and as a result, you got lower interest rates, and so that's fraud. And so you ought to have to pay us what you cheated the bank out of, even if the bank doesn't feel like they're cheated. Here's the difference: is to follow out your analogy.
Uh-huh.
So you tell MasterCard you make $1 million, and they look at it and say, "Well, we don't believe you. We're gonna go independently verify this." And they go independently verify it, and then they do drop your rates. But it's not because you said you make $1 million. It's that you got a 793 credit score.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the bank said. Is now, we don't really look at these things that people give us. And that's not Trump. That's everybody. I mean, if we're going to loan somebody $500 million,
they're doing their own verification process to make sure that it gets paid back to begin with.
No, that's right. And so one of the loans was for Margo, I think's the way it's pronounced or said. And he said it's worth whatever. And they said, "No, I'll tell you what, we'll go look at that ourselves." And they did, and they said, "Dang, we want that property." We think Trump undervalued it. That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And the more outrageous the verdict is, man, the better it is for Trump on appeal.
Well, I love it. I mean, and obviously there will be appeals. And where does that in a civil case? Mm-hmm. What does that go to? Is there an appellate civil court in New York? Do you know?
There is. It's odd. The Yankees are odd. We would call it the New York Supreme Court, but that's actually not what it's called. They're trying. You know what their trial level court, the court where this case is being tried right now, the first level. That we call in Tennessee be General Sessions Court or Circuit Court. Well, up there it's the Supreme Court.
What?
Yankees are odd. And it starts off at the Supreme Court and then ends up in the Court of Appeals. So it'll go to the New York equivalent of the New York Supreme Court.
And who knows from there, or are you confident in saying what you think will happen there?
No, I'm not confident. No, I can't predict outcomes of legal cases very well, but I will say with very high confidence, the order barring Trump from doing business in the state of New York will not stand.
Mm-hmm.
The highest court in New York is not going to let that precedent be on the books because that's going to run a lot of businesses off. And frankly, I'd be shocked if they let any verdict stand over more than, say, I'm just picking a number out of the air, $50 million. Or they may throw the whole thing out. I'll be absolutely shocked if the highest court in New York says Trump has to pay the state $350 million and can no longer do business in the state of New York.
Do you think the time frame of that? Well, I'll ask a question when we come back because I'm being told I have to get a break by the janitor, Leroy. That is a super text comment. And if you're not on the super text line, you don't know what I'm talking about. The janitor says I got to go to a break. Jay St. Clair's with us. Cameron Smith is with us. You're with us as well. If you have any questions for our legal men, Jay and or Cameron, give us a call or super text lines up and running. 615-737-9986 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you about an incredible opportunity that you have at the world-famous Glock store. Now, this is a limited space opportunity, so you need to jump on this if this is something of interest to you. We talk all the time about the incredible shooting rooms that they have at the Shoot 270 ranges. They don't believe in shooting lanes at the Glock store. You've heard me talk about that quite a bit. They believe in rooms because rooms offer you a more immersive training experience, and now you have an even more so immersive training experience designed to instill and advance your skills in crisis response and active shooter scenarios. It's called Sentinel Training from Shoot 270. From realistic scenarios to crisis-related medical training to resource management during crisis situations, you'll be able to handle whatever comes your way for this Sentinel experience. It's happening on February 3rd at McGill's world-famous Glock store. Due to the amount of training and the preparation for each participant, it is limited to just 18 participants. So for complete information or to sign up for Sentinel, go to shoot270.com. That's shoot270.com. And I encourage you to go to the world-famous Glock store. Big and bright and bold it is, and it is the best in the business when it comes to all your needs regarding the Second Amendment. Whether it's apparel, accessories, or the guns themselves, they've got it at the world-famous Glock store. Shoot270.com or glockstore.com for more information. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, Matt Murphy and you. Man, oh man, we've got a full room and a full phone bank of telephone calls, and Jay St. Clair is here. He's our legal man, my life consultant. We got Cameron Smith, who's hanging out with us. He was unable to come by on Wednesday, so he's here today. And you on the phones on a First Amendment Freestyle Friday. It's also Fry-J, 615-737-9986. So the follow-up then, Jay, is the timing of it. So if it is going to appeal, I know that these things can happen as slowly. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, Jay, me telling you a brief summary of my time in court. I laugh because Jay was my guy. He had to deal with all of that. But it took, 3 years to deal with what you rightly described as a clean kill right at the beginning of the conversation. But it took 3. But you warned me every step of the way, Matt, you're not going to like it because it's going to take way longer than you think it will. So I guess how long does this take? I mean, does this extend beyond the election?
Probably. The judge said he's going to issue his decision this month, and I think he's probably already got it written. Frankly, he probably wrote it 2 months ago. And so we'll get that decision. The appeal will be filed in February. I'll be shocked if the highest court in New York decides the appeal by November. I'd be shocked, man. It's possible, but I don't think that's likely. So I think that appeal will be pending when the November election occurs.
And it's not one that most
based on this one.
Yeah.
I think that's right. It's well said, Cameron. It's going to be the first one decided, at least at trial level, but I think it's the least. I've been thinking about that, man. I think the 2 federal cases politically are probably more important than the 2 state cases. It's legal and political. If he were not running for president, none of these cases would have been filed. So that's what the game was. That's your area, right? But maybe their idea was that they piled on a bunch of criminal cases that he would not run. He would plead guilty or take a plea and say, I won't run for president. Well, that ain't going to happen.
Well, I think that the thought process was the very nature of the accusation would prevent people from going in on Trump during the primary season
election. And the truth is, the one that and I've said this all along, the Florida documents case is the one where I think they got him dead to rights. I also think it's a documents case, right? Like people already.
It's not really sexy,
right?
Like
voters are like, well, you mishandled documents. I think a lot of voters actually think that that's true and don't care. Like I don't think that folks are looking at that. What I do know, and I've said repeatedly, is that if there were a trial verdict in a criminal case before the election, he's in trouble. If not, I just don't know that any of peers in a criminal case reaches a verdict, and I'm not talking about all the appeals, but at the trial level, prior to the election, call it an 8 to 10 point swing, which is enough in a close election, Trump loses. And I get that, I see that, but ultimately, if that doesn't happen before the election, I think Trump's got a pretty good path to win.
Jay St. Clair with us. Cameron's going to hang out with us as well. We've got to do this real quick, and we'll get back to your calls and your questions. Legal questions abound on the super text line, and we'll get to a few of those. And many people off on Monday, so we'll update you on that as well. It's 1:33. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I want to tell you about Tennessee Men's Clinic and talk to you for a moment about what is, frankly, a little bit of a sensitive subject. And I understand that because men don't the doctor. I understand that guys want to whistle past the graveyard when it comes to their numbers, but there are certain numbers that you should know when it comes to your health. You ought to know your blood pressure, man. You need to know whether it's high or whether it's low or whether it's good. You need to know things like for you in life, generally in life, and more specifically in the bedroom. You know, many men come into Tennessee Men's Clinic, and there's a lag, right? They say, well, this has been going on for a year. This has been going on, or they think it's something that they can live with. It is something that affects around 50% of men as men get older, and you need to deal with it. And Tennessee Men's Clinic has such great ways to do just that. So Call today for an appointment. Book that appointment by going to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com or making the call that so many other guys have made. 615-208-9090. Two locations. Get back to an energetic lifestyle with Tennessee Men's Clinic. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Getting back to Jay St. Clair in just a moment. He's on the line with us, our legal guy. We've got another legal guy. I mean, I guess by trade you're a legal guy, right? I mean, you studied. I mean, you went to Alabama.
Where'd you go, Jay?
Hold on, let me. Hey,
Yale.
Wait. Ask him again.
Where'd you go to law school, Jay?
Yale.
To exactly two people. And Cameron's not one of them. Hey, before we get back to any conversation about the law, and some folks are taking the day off. I am not. I will be here from noon until 3. Brian Wilson will be on the drive from 3 until 7, and he will be on remote location in Iowa, where it is expected to be -3 degrees. He is there covering the caucus like the morning dew or the snowfall in that state. What? Why are you giggling at me?
Covering the caucus.
Covering the caucus. And his Monday presentation from Iowa will be brought to you by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating and Cooling, as well as the Charlie Daniels Journey. Covering the caucus with Wilson and the team on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm just imagining how that's going to go, and it's going to be like, well, and eventually they'll reach a decision about a person.
What I love about this is that Wilson is such a bloodhound when it comes to politics. Iowa?
No.
To get on the ground in Iowa? And now you can hear that he's excited about doing it, but there's also a little regret way somewhere deep down because he keeps looking at the weather forecast and it's -3. That's Jay, what's the coldest you've ever been not on the golf course?
Well, you know the coldest I've been on the golf course. I went to Minneapolis in January, man. I had no idea about Minneapolis. It was 10 days like the normal day. It's shocking.
It's true. Minnesota temperature, St. Paul, Minneapolis. I mean, the fact that
There are people that live in the United States of America that have specialty made heaters to put on their cars so their oil doesn't freeze.
Right.
Okay? The oil in the pan of their vehicle has to be heated.
And so the block doesn't crack, too. So
Yeah.
you warm the block up slowly before you start the car.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
No.
It's crazy.
No. I am, every time we talk about the cold, I'm reminded of, and this is completely off subject and off topic, but it is a good recommendation. I saw a special on PBS, and I have forgotten what it was called, but it's about a guy 55, and he moved to Alaska. He bought a piece of property in Alaska, moved to Alaska, and he took he took some rudimentary tools, and he took building a homestead in Alaska. He lived there by himself for 30 years, from 55 to 85. He recorded so much, and he did a lot of note-taking in journals. And 6 months or so, we would visit his family once a year, but he lived there until the age of 85, and they did a documentary on him, and it is fascinating how this dude lived his life. Like during the winter months, every day the 2 feet of ice that he had to go through to get to water.
Wow.
To get to water.
Yeah.
I might have just melted some of that snow, but that's me.
I mean, hey, buddy, there's no,
You know all that stuff you're tossing out of
a few of these here. While I'm looking these up, any thoughts on? I'm tossing you a curveball, but I'm thinking about it because Cameron Smith is here. You know, this idea, this check and balance with the Congress and the President of the United States. I don't know if it passed your radar this morning as you were looking at headlines, but
No, I saw it.
War Powers Act. So
Right.
the president is not. Does all of this depend on what we call an what the definition of is in terms of emergency?
And this has been true for decades, right? And I think that actually goes back to Vietnam. I think that's when that law was passed. And so, yeah, there's always been executive branch on what has to be approved or not. And, you know, it's very fact specific, Matt. I mean, each situation has to be looked at on its own. And, you know, Congress, every so often they'll flex their muscles and trying to say, hey, we're a
lot, and it's kind of a burr in your saddle that the legislative branch has brought a lot of this on themselves. Walk through that for folks who don't know, Jay.
No, absolutely. They have ceded a huge amount of their power to the president, and it's been both parties, Matt. And it's happened. Well, it really started during the New Deal in Roosevelt, but it keeps going even today, where they passed. Well, my best example is the Occupational Safety and Health Act. It was passed in 1970, and the law is about 2 pages long. And basically, all it says is, here's the 2 main provisions in that law, man. Every employer must have a safe workplace. That's the law. Every employer must have a safe workplace.
Right. That's it.
And we hereby give the Department of Labor the power to issue regulations to enforce this law. Thank you very much. The pages law. Congress didn't write the law. The Department of Labor wrote the law. And there are many, many examples of that. And that's why we're seeing all this stuff about executive orders. Because over time, Congress has ceded their power to the president.
Yeah, that was actually one of the big issues that I worked on in Congress as a staffer, is for them to take effect, to reclaim that authority they've delegated, because it's a huge, huge issue across the federal government. And, you know, on the war powers stuff, and I pulled up the statutory language. There's basically 3 ways the president can engage a national emergency created by an attack upon the United States, its territories or possessions, or its armed forces. And so
they're leaning on some of these strikes, like drone strikes and whatever.
Right. So if you have like American soldiers in a base and rebels run a drone and attack them, now you've got an attack upon the United States or its armed forces.
We had some wiggle room there.
And so that's what they're arguing.
What was the second one again? That's the one that Bush used for Iraq.
Specific statutory authorization. So this is like contingency operations or something like that, that it's already standing, and then you can...
Got it. The name of the documentary, a lot of you folks are telling me what the name is, and I want to let others know. It's called Alone in the Wilderness, and it is a man by the name of Richard Pernicki. But I would recommend it. It is fascinating to me. It's also, there's something about it that's incredibly appealing, and something about it that makes me want to vomit. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those deals. I feel like I don't know. Holiday, I would. Oh, my Lord. I'd be talking to the birds. I'd be talking to the chipmunks. I'd be talking to... Who would I talk to, Cameron?
I've seen Castaway. I know how this goes.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. You'd be talking to Spalding. No, Wilson.
Wilson. That's it. Wilson. Real quick before we say goodbye, Jay, several people are asking. There's a number of questions I'm trying to get to, but several people are asking about the Georgia case involving Trump and this the Fannie Willis and the fact that she apparently hired a guy that she's having an affair with, and she's paying him a lot of money. And then now we know that she's also, I'm sure, just completely independent of all of that, going on these fancy trips with the guy. I mean, this just adds another layer of seediness and dirtiness to this situation, does it not?
No, it does. And honestly, I don't know that it really affects it that much legally, Matt. But again, it's more politically. I mean, for example, let's say in the middle of a trial, the prosecuting attorney gets a ticket for DUI. Well, it's not a good development for the prosecuting attorney, but I don't think that stops the case. Right? It doesn't have anything to do with the facts of the case. So I don't think that's a grounds to dismiss the case, but it may be grounds to fire her. And then if a new prosecutor steps in, then that slows it down. With Trump, people shoot at him, and it ricochets, and they shoot their eye out.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in that Christmas movie.
Mm-hmm.
People try to shoot him, and they shoot their own eye out. It's just remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, it is the belief that this would dirty him up to the point that people were like, okay, we can't support him anymore. And it's just made him stronger and galvanized support behind him to the point that now that they're in it, they have to finish it. At least they feel like. And I think the Florida thing, there's a little more validity because I think Trump may have played fast and loose with documents. But with that case, we feel like, well, that's not something that any other president hasn't done. I mean, we saw that Joe Biden had done it. So
yeah, and if you get him, the one about the Florida case that concerns me is sort of the cover-up. It seems like the prosecutors have evidence of, hey, you knew that you messed up, and then instead of like making it right, you covered it up, and that's usually what gets politicians as a cover-up.
But I think at this point, I mean, remains to be seen. I understand what you're saying about possibly hurting him from a percentage in the polls. I don't know that an initial trial guilty verdict hurts him.
Well, keep this in mind, Matt. Big difference in that case and all the other ones. It is in a red state.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the makeup of the jury is going to be, yeah.
Florida only takes one. Is a Florida jury going to unanimously convict Trump after he has been nominated to be the Republican nominee for president?
Great question.
Only takes one.
Great question. Jay.
Right, but if you run into Pamela Furr, tell her, hope she's feeling better.
All right, I'll do it. Thanks, Jay. Take care.
See you, buddy.
There's Jay St. Clair, our good legal mind. We'll wrap up with Cameron Smith here in just a moment as we get into hour number 3 of a Friday edition of the Matt Murphy Show. We'll also play a little Friday Mac Attack. It's my understanding that we're actually drafting coaches. Is that what we're doing? Drafting coaches.
Yeah, potential coaches for
the Titans.
That was hurtful. Here, Cadillac Williams is available, though.
Hey, I think the first thing we should do is take a quick vote on whether or not we let Cameron Smith take part in this.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a 4-way draft?
4-way draft. Sure. Coaching candidates for the Tennessee Titans.
For the Tennessee Titans. Is Nick Saban allowed to be? Look.
You can't pick him. He's my guy.
152. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk about your safety. I know that many of you choose to utilize your Second Amendment rights and make sure that you're keeping your family safe and sound with a gun or a group of guns. Well, how are you keeping those weapons safe? I hope that you're doing it with a safe from through the rows and rows of incredible safes at Nashville Safe House. They have a lot in stock. They have a lot on the showroom floor. It's a big warehouse, and you will walk through it, and you will see the incredible safes from Browning, from Fort Knox, from Champion, from Rhino, just to name a few brands. In total, sometimes he has as many as 600 safes. What does that mean to you? That means that they have the one right for you and your family right there in stock. You don't have to wait for it. You don't have to look at it online. You can see it. You can feel it with your own hands. You can look at it with your own eyes, and you can select the safe that's right for you. I would encourage you to get a little bigger than you think you need because I promise you, you'll eventually need it. Go to NashvilleSafehouse.com to find out more, NashvilleSafehouse.com, or better yet, stop by and see them in Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Just a few more moments discussing the aftermath of the president's decision. Well, if defense would have assisted in this decision, but who knows, to launch airstrikes against the Houthi targets. What is best case scenario? I think I know the answer to this, but what is best case scenario? What is worst case scenario, in your opinion, regarding the news of last night that we had launched a pretty widespread aerial assault on these individuals engaging?
Do what they've been doing. It seems unlikely, and even the Pentagon is saying the deterrent effect is now in place, but there may be reprisals. Well, guess what? If the deterrent effect is there are no reprisals. There are no responses. It's just like, we better not do that again. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is, oh no, we devolve into something with Iran that's across the region. Hezbollah and other organizations start firing further into Israel. This whole thing blows up.
If I were to submit that we're funding both sides of this war, I mean, who would deny it? Because and I understand that some would take issue with how I'm using the language there, but so we're kind of funding that.
Right.
And we're funding the other side of it too. So our money is fighting against itself.
Well, and we also, the Biden administration took the Houthis off the terrorist list, and now they said, we're reevaluating that decision.
Oh, are you now?
You think?
I bet you're reevaluating the southern border too.
You just drop bombs on them.
I bet some in the Biden administration reevaluating a lot, considering there's an election season upon us. Cameron's going to stick around and draft coaches with the rest of us. We're going to take a break from politics for a moment and enjoy Friday Mac Attack. That's on the way next, right after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 48 degrees. Been a rainy day. It looks like the clouds are coming up in a couple minutes. The Justice Department plans to seek the death penalty for the top supermarket shooter, Peyton Gendron, just months after he received his life sentence on.
The White House is not commenting on this decision by the Justice Department to seek the death penalty for the Buffalo supermarket shooter, Peyton Gendron. Spokesman Jeremy Edwards tells ABC the president has long talked about his views on the death penalty broadly, but the White House leaves it to the appropriate authorities to speak to individual cases and sentencing decisions. Edwards says the president continues to pray for the victims of the shooting, calling it an unspeakable act of violence.
Crime in Tennessee. A 5-year-old in Memphis accidentally shot and killed himself this morning. The 5-year-old boy was rushed to the hospital but did not survive. Officers detained 4 people at the scene. Residents, police say that you can pick up a gun lock at any police precinct. And it's been a deadly week for avalanches in the West, with heavy snow that has fallen with storms moving through the country. Alex Stone reports on efforts in Lake Tahoe to mitigate the danger.
With the avalanche danger high and 2 avalanches this week, one of them deadly inside the confines of Palisades Tahoe Ski Resort, Ski Patrol is out blasting the mountains trying to trigger controlled avalanches. Around Tahoe, this sound. This guy is out skiing Palisades.
A lot of booms. They're definitely taking care.
An avalanche in the backcountry. 2 friends were rescued on Thursday afternoon.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Here we are, and here we go. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, and I guess my name's on the show, so I got to do all the work. I'll tell you what I mean in just a moment as I reference what's about to happen in the 2 o'clock hour on this for a long time. I feel compelled to take Tracy's call. We're going to do that before we get to anything further regarding what my little system for selections. While I take, because we can't.
A little system.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, let's just go ahead and hit the button, and let's go ahead and do this.
Sorry, Tracy.
No, you know what? I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know where I am. I mean, I'm so out of it. I like to be honest with you folks, and I'm just.
Our point guard's turning over the ball.
I'm batching it. Which, by the way, I'm batching it. Anybody got any idea? Come on, you're a youngster. You're not gonna invite. Batching, as in a bachelor. My wife's out of town.
Oh, you're batching it. Nice.
So I got to loathe myself. Well, that's actually been a nice respite because typically I put my clothes on and I get you're wearing that and that's linen. And, have I told you the linen story?
I've heard this now. I don't know exactly the full details, but what's the problem with linen?
It's winter. And that's not what she sounds like because
not at all.
She might be listening. So he does not sound that way. But she said it was linen. And I'm not supposed to wear linen in winter. And I was like, I didn't know that until you said it.
I would have no idea.
It was just a shirt. And she's like, you need to wear something warmer. I said, do you know how hot it is in this day? I started getting mad. This is the other day. I'm over it. Trust me.
Oh, yeah. You're not thinking about it. No real estate.
By the way, there's Cougar Chow. His name is Mac Morey. He normally does the news. Sometimes he does the sports. And once a week, he does Mac Morey's cameras. And Cameron Smith is joining in as a special guest drafter. Hello, Cameron.
Hey.
Nice to have you.
I guess I just decided to hang out today.
I guess so. I
love it.
I just told Cameron, I said, Amandus is listening to the show like, what are you doing, Murphy?
Yeah. Hey, I'm not a guest. I'm an employee.
That's true. That's exactly what I'm going to hang on when he says, why are you having a guest for the entire show?
Well, he's an employee. I was here for an hour, and then you're like, you want to hang out? And I'm like, sure. I mean, I don't have a meeting to be doing. You're like, hey, you want to draft with us? I guess.
It's
man.
Friday. It's like it feels like the day before the snow. Not decided to work and bank the day. You'd probably be working.
When I told people when I was filling in over the holidays, and I was like, guys, I hope y'all know how hard it is day in and day out to come up with interesting things to talk about for hours at a time.
Yeah.
People were like, I mean, it's not a real job though. And I'm like,
let's be honest. This is not real work.
Yeah. Like, you get to talk. So what? I'm like, no, it's really hard, guys.
No, I promise.
And they say, man, it must be tough to talk for 3 hours on the radio. As difficult as to talk for 3 hours on the radio Did you guys see we talked about this a little bit at the end of the Chris Haynes show. So I tell you what, I feel very compelled to do this. This might be a mistake, but I want to do this because he's been holding for so long. Tracy's in Lebanon. Hey, Tracy, how are you? No, hold on.
Matt,
just
how you doing?
hang in there. All right, Tracy, the floor is yours. I wanted to talk with you because you've been holding for so long. We got lots of fun and frivolity. You're holding the whole thing up, but that's okay. I'm just kidding.
That's all right. Yeah. Enjoy the show.
Thank you.
Don't worry about Wilson. He's got enough insulation on him to stay warm. So.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm calling in this for Cameron. H.R. Bill 3980. It's in Congress, in the House. They passed one reading of it back last year in June, and the other one's coming up in the middle of this year. Does he know anything? Can you tell me anything directly?
I don't. H.R. 3980. Is that what you said?
Hey, yes, sir.
What's it on?
It's on controlling the American people, if you'll read on it.
Controlling the American people.
Is this the Advancing Facial Recognition Technology Act?
Yes, that's part of it.
Okay.
But if you read further into it, it's all about control.
Well, facial recognition technology is about knowing where everybody is, and it can get pretty wild if we're not careful.
How we spend our money.
Well, that seems unlikely, but, I mean, I'll take a look at it.
I don't know. I've seen Minority Report. Tracy, I'm going to read up on this, and we can either do one of two things. Either Tracy and Cameron can talk about this for the rest of the hour, and Mac and I are going to drink, or I'll tell you what, Tracy, I'm going to research on this, and I think Cameron will do the same.
Yep.
And I'm going to report back next week. Because when I think of facial recognition technology, I think Minority Report. Anybody seen Minority Report?
Yep.
Anybody? Where he trades out his eyeballs.
Yeah.
He has to trade out his eyeballs. Have you seen Minority Report?
I thought like that was Xenu telling him where the bad guys were.
No. He has to go to the guy, and the guy plops the eyeball, and then he gives him his eye. Oh, look, here.
So that bill he mentioned requires the Department of Commerce to study and report on the impact of facial recognition technology on U.S. businesses conducting interstate commerce.
I'll get the whiskey.
That's probably one of the single best one-liners that have ever been stated on the show.
That was well played.
If we're going to do this, let's do it, but I'm going to go get the whiskey. So real quick.
Well done, Mac.
Thank you.
I'm up late last night. I'm trolling on Twitter, on the Twitter machine.
Oh, yeah, of course.
As you do.
Which is
Yes.
what I do at night. And I'm having a good time. Justin Jones is complaining about getting booted off the education committee, and I had to make sure that liberals understood how all of this worked. When you get expelled from the House of Representatives, you're also removed from committees. You have to get to the back of the line again, and now he's been put in the back of the line. He's no longer on education, and he's me. Well, anyway. As I'm doing this, I see that Dan Mandis's lovely wife, Amy, has posted a photograph of Dan on her Facebook page that is Dan Mandis's face on a woman in red leather on a motorcycle. It's very odd.
Have you seen this yet? Oh, please go.
Okay, so you can find it on my Twitter handle. So I decided to repost this on Twitter without giving any context. I just said, I don't know what to do with this. And so a lot of people thought that I came up with the thing. And I did not. So I just want, for the record, to say that I did not. In the meantime, 2886 writes, your 3 hours is getting very boring.
That's hurtful.
It's not an airport.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that. 2886, if you would like, I can liven your life up by just giving everybody your damn telephone number and letting them call you.
We're getting a little fiery on a Friday.
I mean, what I don't understand is people take the time to write, well, tell me what you want to talk about then. Tell me what radio show you would like to listen to.
This is where you use Gladiator and you say, are you not entertained?
I mean, I don't know what to do with you because it's a Friday and it's Mac Attack and we do this every Friday and we're going to do it right now. Okay, so there's 4 of us, so we can't do the...
Oh, geez, I just saw what you were talking about.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
but see, I was connecting the dots in my head that, well, everyone will know that this originally came from Amy.
Amy on Facebook, yeah.
But that...
That's hard
That's
to
not
look
what
at.
happened. That's not what happened. So Dan this morning apparently at 5:30 thought that I created the image for no reason other than to slam on him. And Amy is texting Dan, no, it was originally on my page and yada, yada, yada. But anyway. So
Matt, what the heck?
What are you doing, Matt? But you can go and look at if Dan Mandis were a female and chose to wear a tight leather suit and ride a motorcycle. If you want to know what that would look like, then
it's there for you, for your consumption.
On Twitter.
I
can't believe that 2886 is not entertained by this.
I think when I think Dan Mandis, I want to know what he's doing with Comcast at any given time because I live for the Dan Mandis Comcast ads. I'm like, I need to see the random thing at his house that Dan's doing that Comcast enables him to do, like breathing. It's fantastic.
Well, he breathes. No, he doesn't. No, it doesn't help him. I mean, no, it makes breathing better.
Right.
You breathe better when you breathe with Comcast.
Right. And it's just, I mean, I want to just tell Comcast, dollar for dollar, Dan Mandis is an excellent investment because that is an ad I seek out because I'm like, Dan's telling me how he uses it. And it's glorious.
Hey, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Munsters?
No, the Addams Family. Their
right.
You have
okay,
papers
so
in
I
your hand?
got these papers because I realized there's 4 of us and the odds and evens they don't work
For our draft order,
For our draft, just give Cameron one for
give me a
goodness
number.
sakes, and I'm going to take one, and then Bell gets what's the leftovers. What do you got? I got number 2. We do this every week. It's Friday Mac Attack. We select. We draft a subject chosen by McMurray. McMurray, what is the subject today?
Well, obviously, earlier this week, Mike Vrabel was fired by the Tennessee Titans. A little bit of a shocking move after 6 seasons, 4 of which were winning, 12th best record in the National Football League in that 6 years. Let him go. Coaching search has ensued, and I figured we'd draft the top candidates because there are a lot of them this year. A bunch.
Okay, so we're doing top candidates to replace Mike Vrabel as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and personally, I'm going to do it as like realistic,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Bell will do the same, realistic, good coaches. He's done his draft study here.
I'm going to go realistic, too.
Okay.
I've decided.
Agreed.
Just to now. Nice. Draft order number one that's Cameron Smith. Cameron, what is your pick?
I like Lincoln Riley.
Wow.
I'm going to get wild. Let's go. Let's get wild.
Whoa. Crazy number 1 overall pick.
That's insane.
I know. I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to say Bill Belichick. I'm not saying Nick Saban.
Oh, no, that's about to come.
On type ethos at the Titans. Like,
let's air it out.
Let's open it up, man.
Yeah, like
Let's just go.
We got Will Levis with the cannon. Let's switch this thing up.
Dude can throw the ball.
Lincoln Riley. He's at what, USC right now?
Yeah, it's never going to happen, but it's okay.
Gross.
Just saying.
Hey, welcome to the press conference. Felt good about the game plan today, and we'll open it up for questions.
It's a great pick.
We're trying to win the ball game.
Looking forward to the Jets.
We're looking for the team. And that his reputation has been dinged to a certain degree because of a lack of success post-Tom Brady. If you do not have a quarterback in the NFL, you do not have a team in the NFL. So I forgive him a lot of that because he certainly has not had a quarterback. And I think he could do some great things with Will Levis. I'm selecting Bill Belichick in the number 2 slot in the Friday Mac Attack draft. Thank you very much.
Love it. That's great. That'll also never happen, but I'm excited about it.
It's more plausible than Lincoln Riley.
It's more plausible than Lincoln Riley.
Oh, well, thanks a lot. Okay, you know what? None of these are ever going to happen except for possibly one.
True, there's just one.
Whatever.
Bill Belichick will be coaching for the Buffalo Bills or the Dallas Cowboys in about 3 weeks. For number 3 pick, they're going to panic and go get Bill Belichick because they are ready to win, and Belichick is going to join a Super Bowl now team.
I understand that he wants the 15 victories. He wants back to the playoffs and back to the Super Bowl.
Wants to beat Shula, yeah. Or
I think the Falcons are more likely than the Cowboys.
Could see that a little bit.
I mean, you get a quarterback. The team is ready. The defense is ready. They've got pieces on offense. You get a quarterback, but you have to get a quarterback. But anyway, I should shut up now. So where are you going?
Gonna go Ben Johnson, sort of kind of like you. I want to see the Titans air it out, open up this offense. Young, innovative guy, offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, Ben Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Johnson. Belkay, I'll give you $1,000 if you honestly tell me that you'd ever heard of Ben Johnson before seconds ago. Because I hadn't.
Not related to football.
You knew Ben Johnson once.
No, that's bend over. Pick number 4.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Has anybody picked Tony D'Amato?
Nobody has picked Tony D'Amato.
Okay, I'm going with Tony. What do you mean? I mean, he's a little older, but he did a pretty good job with the Miami Sharks. So, that he was in that movie, Any Given Sunday.
I knew Bell was going to love this draft.
Look, hold on.
You're doing great.
You guys don't make me laugh. I'm going to try to do this with a straight face. Ready? Bell,
are we going snake style? Or
no, we're going with you. Snake doesn't work in this draft for me.
Yeah, we tried. Yeah,
we tried it.
It was kind of weird.
It was weird.
Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but still, blech.
Get to play your brother.
Number 2 selection, we got to go quickly here. My number 2 selection, I'm going to go a little off the board here. You ready?
Oh, yeah.
Ready?
Tony D'Amato got picked, so yeah, we're good.
Mike Vrabel.
Right? Bingo.
Mike Vrabel.
Exotic
I
choice.
almost went that with number 1, but I kind of want him a Belichick
wanted to,
pick.
too. I love that pick.
I mean, Mike Vrabel, you should not have fired the man.
Yeah, he should be here.
You should not have fired the man.
Gosh.
Injuries over the last 2 years decimated the man's team. He didn't have a quarterback for the entire time that Mike Vrabel should still be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. There's my pick.
Yes, I love that.
The owner had feelings, okay?
I understand. But I think there's a danger that she's starting to Al Davis this thing, man.
Yes. It's not a danger. That's a reality.
I mean, Jerry Jones is a real human being, and the Cowboys haven't won a championship in, a long time. All right, number 3 pick.
Little biased pick, but I think it is still a good one. He may be the head coach of the Commanders here in a couple weeks because he's already there, the assistant head coach there, longtime Chiefs offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy.
That's a name I know.
Yeah.
So that must be good.
That's a good name. Quarterbacks.
All right.
Good play caller.
Belkay, selection 2 in our 2024 Mac Morey mock NFL Tennessee Titans head coach draft.
Jimmy McGinty.
Who is that?
What do you mean? Who was that?
Jimmy McGinty.
Why do you have to be an ass about my picks?
I'm just asking you to elaborate a little more.
He was the former head coach of the Washington Sentinels. He was in that movie, The Replacements.
The Gene Hackman.
No, his name was Jimmy McGinty.
Okay, but he was played. Yeah, he was. That's good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You're inspiring me, Bill. I like that. Cameron, let's get back to serious selections.
Please.
Go right ahead, please.
So this is round 3, man.
Yeah, this is it.
This is a big one.
Round out your team.
Antonio Pierce.
Ooh, nice.
Antonio Pierce.
The interim head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this sort of gritty thing.
Yes.
A little bit like Vrabel,
Yeah,
honestly.
totally.
I mean, I like him.
Okay. All right. I dig that. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay. My third selection in this draft, Andy Reid. He's a proven commodity. He has won, I think, the third most games. Or he's right. I think he's second most among active coaches, including Bill Belichick. He's obviously an incredible coach, can put a team together, and I think he's potentially ready to talk. So let's go Andy Reid.
Yeah.
We might have to wait until after the season's done, probably until after this game tomorrow night.
Oh,
But, because, you don't want to do it during the season. You want to wait till after the season's over. And although it's snowing in Kansas City, you love that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I almost might get Peacock just to watch the snow.
It's going to be awesome.
Is he the coach?
Chefs. That's the chefs.
Chefs.
All right, super quick. Go.
Lou Anarumo, defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, nobody knows who that is. Go, Bill.
Steve Rogers.
Who's that?
Probably a movie.
Captain America. It's Captain America.
Oh, it's Captain America.
Okay, there you go. There's the Mac Attack draft of coaches that we would like to see coaching
Thanks, guys.
Tennessee Titans. Thank you.
Yeah, of
Thank you.
course. This is
Thank
great.
you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everybody, get out.
Yep.
It's 2:25 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The Justice Department seeking the death penalty for the mass shooter in Buffalo from a few months ago at the Tops Supermarket. 30 minutes after the hour, he'll all about it. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Mr. Morey. We appreciate you, everything you do, including Friday Mac Attack. We always enjoy that segment.
Yeah,
Get away from the news of the day. That would be a slap shot reference. I think Jimmy Johnson was a suggestion.
Jimmy Johnson.
Byron Leftwich for head coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Yikes.
I think Byron Leftwich is still in coaching. He's in coaching.
Yeah.
I want to say
I think
that.
he's with the
former
Buccaneers.
quarterback. 3996 says the owner is a woman. She decided with her feelings. Easy.
Yikes.
Easy there.
Come on, you got to be nice to Miss Adams. She's family here in town.
Rick Moranis from the Little Giants movie. That's a pretty good one. Why do Dan Mandis's commercials sound like Lightning McQueen? I have no idea what that. I have no idea what that means. 2623 says, I disagree with the previous texter. You deserve 4 hours. That's very sweet. And a lot of commentary about Dan Mandis on a motorcycle. So former Texans head coach and Sparta, Tennessee's own David Culley.
Wow, deep cut.
I want to ask Mac, hey, real quick before you do news, one more sports-related question. 1915 asks a more serious-minded question, and that is, do you believe that Vrabel is going to New England?
He was the former linebackers coach, or was the linebackers coach there. They just moved him up, so no. But I do think Derrick Henry may go where Vrabel goes. Yes.
So you think that's about wherever Vrabel's going to land somewhere?
Vrabel's going to land somewhere. He's probably going to land in a decent spot, and if it's a place that's ready to win, Henry wants to win. Henry loves Vrabel. Vrabel loves Henry.
Could happen. I have Belichick to the Falcons. I have Vrabel to the Commanders. That's what I've got.
to the Commanders. Ooh,
that's
that could happen.
That's what I've got.
I really think Belichick to the Bills or Cowboys. I'm telling you, man. I've got a feeling.
Is that just that uses one of those acronyms that I absolutely hate? We'll tell you about that. The governor unveiled it earlier in the week. And John Hopkins and their DEI office has a few things to say about white folk. So if you're white folk, better listen up because Johns Hopkins has a message for you. That's on the way on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And the sun's starting to poke out just a little bit after some big downpours this morning, expecting dangerous winds and some dangerously cold weather on the way this weekend. And wind advisory in effect until midnight tonight. Could see wind gusts of up to 55 miles an hour and definitely regular gusts of 25 to 35. We got a weather forecast on the way in 2 minutes. The Justice Department seeking the death penalty for top supermarket shooter Peyton Gendron. There is reaction now in Buffalo. Dave Packer.
The Buffalo, New York supermarket shooting marks the first case in which Attorney General Merrick Garland has signed off on a death penalty prosecution. Buffalo Mayor Byron Brown says he thinks it's the right decision.
When you have masses of people that are killed by a shooter, innocent people whose lives are snuffed out, I think the death penalty should apply.
Peyton Gendron, then 19, killed 10 people in the May 2022 racially motivated shooting.
Houthi leaders vowing to respond after the U.S. and its commercial ships in the Red Sea and did not heed warnings. Patrick Reevels in Tel Aviv.
One of the fears that many experts have is that ultimately Iran, through its proxies like Hezbollah and like the Houthis, is essentially content at the moment to try and keep this conflict kind of simmering just below the threshold of a major regional war. And obviously that just leaves this situation where you can face potentially mistakes being made, where you can see this boil over eventually because of miscalculations.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. Let's talk about your body. Let's talk about your pain that you might be experiencing in your body and how to alleviate some of that pain. And I know this is a personal subject, but it's one that most of us deal with as we get older. We get these pains that crop up in our knees and our elbows and our joints and our neck and our back and certainly along our spine. And you don't want to take pills for the rest of your life, do you? You don't want to consider surgery. That should be a last option, a last resort. You need chiropractic care, and the best in the business is the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. They have been utilizing cutting-edge technology. I say that intentionally because they don't cut anybody. Obviously, it's non-invasive, and they don't consider surgery to be a viable option until they've explored every other avenue of success, and they have a lot of them to explore, like spinal decompression, red light therapy, accelerate healing. That's what it's all about, and doing so in a natural way. Get back to life in 2024 by making the call. A first appointment is low cost. All of it's really low cost to you, and the results are incredible. I know from personal experience because I'm not just a spokesperson for the Dr. Gill Center. I'm also a patient, and I absolutely love the pain-free life that they have given me. Call today for an appointment, 615-882-4838. 882-4838, the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief in Franklin. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you until 3 o'clock. We'll hand off to the driving Brian Wilson this afternoon, and I'm certain that Brian will tell you more about his journey to Iowa. We're excited about it. It's brought to you by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling and the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. Thank you to those fine sponsors for allowing Brian to get out into the cold weather and see what's going on with the caucus. That's happening on Monday all day long from Dan Mandis through Chris Hand's show. I think Hand is off on Monday, but we'll find out together when we have Brian on in a few minutes. But he is coming to you courtesy of Busy Bee and the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project. We thank those guys for that. And listen up on Monday as we are here live, loud, and proud all day long covering the caucus and every other news item that's going on like the morning dew on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Mac Morey, I pulled you in one more time. It's kind of the Morey hour this Friday. It's official, right? Alabama head coaching job?
Yes.
Official. What do you make of this selection?
Kalen DeBoer, a lot of small schools, Fresno State, Southern Illinois. I mean, not a lot of blue blood experience, but I kind of like Alabama not taking a huge home run swing the first hire after Nick Saban. It's okay to maybe have a miss here after a couple of years and then go really find your guy, really take a big swing.
Well, not a head coach
that kind of like reeked of no confidence in the guy.
Well, no, not a head coach of any of a major school, but he was a head coach at Sioux Falls. He did great. I mean, his head coaching record is 104-12.
Yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, you just said Sioux Falls, though.
I mean, yeah. I mean, most of that comes from Sioux Falls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's the 2 years at Washington that got him
2 years
at
Washington. Yeah, exactly. He made the national championship.
What was Saban making each year?
$10 million a year, something like that?
Yeah, something
What do you
like
think
that.
this guy's making?
4, 5,
Yeah.
if maybe 6.
Yep.
So they just saved a ton.
It was not about money. Apparently, the University of Washington told him that they would give him a raise to like $5 million a year, and he said, no, it's not about money. That's what the report that I saw during the break there. So for those interested in the football side of things, Kalen DeBoer is now the head coach of the University of Alabama. Here's my thing. The guy can obviously coach football. I mean, and he got to the national championship this year after 2 years as head coach of the Washington Huskies. He's going to have horses at the University of Alabama, no question.
Oh, yes.
There'll be folks that are leaving. There'll be plenty that stay. He'll have plenty of ponies. The question is if you can handle the fishbowl. I mean, there is, obviously the NFL is just an absolute sausage factory, but there's no, I mean, in college football, is there a greater fishbowl than Tuscaloosa, Alabama? And following the greatest college football coach in the history of the game?
No way.
I don't think so. So are you Dennis Franchione or not? And that's the question that will remain. So there you go. There's a little college football news for you. Kalen DeBoer spells his name wrong, but whatever.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean,
it is weird. It's like DeBoer. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I don't know. Why are we just not going DEBORE?
RE. Give me the RE, please.
Yeah, please, instead of the ER. Thank you. My first takeaway, though, and be sure to tell young Chris Webber this. My first takeaway from this hire, OTK.
OTK.
Older than Kirby.
Hey, yeah.
Kirby Smart, 48 years of age. Kalen DeBoer, 49.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know what that. I don't know why that was. I don't know why that was my takeaway. It just was.
Older than Kirby, bro.
OTK.
That's crazy. Kirby's 48.
2 national championships, 48 years old.
That's nuts.
How about that?
There's 20-plus years left with Kirby.
There's a lot
if he wants it.
A lot of meat on that bone. Of course, according to all of my Bama friends, he's going to the Falcons anyway, so whatever.
Okay.
But congratulations, University of whatever.
It's the greatest coach of all time.
I don't know why. What is it about acronyms that I hate so much? It's government and acronyms. It's not your typical acronym, and that's fine. But nowadays,
they're trying to pretend they're smart when they really aren't.
It just wears me out. Nowadays, every little piece of legislation that gets passed has to have a little acronym as its title. It's so cute. And look, I like Governor Bill Lee as good as the next guy. I think he's been a pretty good governor. At least it's been my experience. I know some people hate him. Some of you purity conservatives don't like the guy because of what he did during COVID. I get that. I understand it. I fully respect your opinion on the matter. But for my time in the state of Tennessee, I have appreciated the leadership of Bill Lee. So I'm not knocking him as he introduces the Ensuring Likeness, Voice, and Image Security Act. Artists' voices to the state's protection of personal rights law. Lee, in announcing the legislation, said that he planned to develop the law with significant input from music industry leaders. It is designed to allow criminal enforcement by district attorneys as a Class A misdemeanor for anyone that utilizes the likeness of individuals within the music industry. Anyone else with exclusive license, like labels and distribution groups, can also sue civilly for damages if someone utilizes someone's likeness or name or image through artificial intelligence to reproduce stuff.
This is what Lamberth was talking about yesterday.
It is what Lamberth was talking about yesterday. Likeness, voice, and image security.
ILVAS?
It's the Elvis Act.
Oh, that's just terrible.
It's the Elvis Act.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, would it not be? And I thought about this. This is where I was going, Belle. We're simpatico in our thinking. So if I'm a part of the Elvis Presley Trust, and I don't know who runs all of that anymore, how ironic would it be if I see that they're using Elvis in this name of this piece of legislation and I sue the state of Tennessee to stop them?
That would be hilarious.
I mean, did they ask?
Probably not. I mean, it's spelled differently, so they don't need to. It's
good. I think there's an extra "and" in there, but it's the ensuring likeness, voice, and image security.
I was spelling it sure wrong. Good Lord.
That's good.
It's time for a Saturday.
It is definitely time for the weekend. We're getting there slowly but surely. John Hopkins and Johns Hopkins is no different. Johns Hopkins has long been considered to be one of the best medical institutions in the United States of America. If someone says that they are from Johns Hopkins and they can help, you can typically believe them because they received a top-notch education. If you have certain issues in your life and you decide to go to the best of the best, oftentimes the best of the best are at Johns Hopkins. However, they are not immune to the wokeness that has infected the United States of America through DEI. DEI is institutional racism cloaked in the language illusion. But if you utilize DEI to the point that many of these organizations and institutions have, you will not DEI, you will DIE. Did you see, by the way, the Alaska Airlines flight? Boeing utilizes Matt Walsh of the Daily Wire found this video. The company that built the door that blew out of the airliner that they're now concerned about, they have this video about their diversity, equity, and inclusion program, and they are so proud of the fact that it was an all-women engineering team that developed that door.
Wow. Way to diss women.
I mean, I am certain that there are some great women engineers out there, and I'm not discounting the best engineers to do the job. If your priority is to find women to do the job, then you perhaps aren't thinking properly. That's all I'll say about that. The privilege list from the Johns Hopkins University Medical Office of Diversity, Inclusion, and Health Equity created a little bit of a backlash letter from Chief Diversity Officer Dr. Sharita Golden in January of 2024 in the issue of Monthly Diversity Digest, which is apparently a publication presented by Johns Hopkins. The message included privilege as the diversity word of the month, along with a series of descriptions considered privileged. Quote, privilege is an unearned benefit given to people who are a specific social group. Privilege operates on personal, interpersonal, cultural, and institutional levels, and it provides advantages and favors to members of dominant groups at the continued. In the United States, privilege is granted to people who have membership in one or more of the following social identity groups. Listen up. White people, able-bodied people, heterosexuals, cisgender people, males,
stuff,
middle-aged people, and English-speaking people. The newsletter then went on to emphasize privilege is characteristically invisible to people who have it. Predicted almost 20 years ago that there would be a time in our lifetime that people would look at you and tell you you're racist and tell you that it doesn't matter what you think about it and it doesn't matter how you act, that you're simply racist based on the color of your skin, which is in and of, they get to make the rules according to them, and you just have to sit around and take it. In the meantime, people are dying because Johns Hopkins, they choose not to focus on the real matters at hand, and that is saving people's lives. Instead, they focus on this nonsense. Bunch of junk. 615-737-9986, 51 after the hour. We'll check in with Brian Wilson momentarily to find out his plans for getting to Iowa and what's coming up on the drive. That's next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A lot of you folks on the super text line indicating that you're batting 100% on privilege. Congratulations to each of you. According to Johns Hopkins University, you should run out and spread some of that privilege around. It's 2:56, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Cold outside. It is getting colder. Anticipating snow Monday or on the plateau, obviously, but nothing like some people are going to experience in Iowa Monday. Hello, Brian Wilson. How are you?
Have you seen the pictures out of Iowa? I mean, they got a full-on blizzard going there. And, that's going to be, I guess I'll go through some of that on the way there. I'm leaving out tomorrow morning at 0400 hours and headed up to Iowa. The Radio Red Flyer is packed out, and I have my travel snacks. And I went through and found all of my old ski gear so that I have super, super warm jackets and gloves and all of that. But the low on Monday is -18. The high is just a balmy -3. But if you figure in the day will be somewhere between -22 and -37.
So a number of questions come to mind, Brian. One, I mean, we have been joking around about this for a few days.
Yeah.
But with the snow on the ground, I mean, you've got four-wheel drive. I've seen your truck. I mean, are you at all worried about travel conditions?
I'm not worried. Over the years, I lived in the Texas Panhandle. If you can survive winters in the Texas Panhandle, you can survive them anywhere. That's one of the coldest places I've ever been in my life.
All right.
Amarillo, Texas. So, over the years, I've just, gotten pretty good at just knowing how to navigate this stuff. I've driven in hurricanes and I've driven in blizzards, because news people just have to go when there is news. And so you just have to figure out a way to do it, and you get pretty good about it over the years. So I'm not worried about that. I am wondering though how much impact it will have on the caucus.
Well, that was my next question. Yeah.
A lot of elderly people are very active in politics, of course, and if you're like, oh, I'm 75 years old and I've never missed a caucus, but it's -37 degrees outside, and I think I'll just sit here by the fire. I wonder how many people will do that. I noticed that Nikki Haley has canceled or whatever,
Zoom or whatever. Yeah.
So they said because they can't get around, and it is cold. It is cold up there, and I have friends I've been talking to in Iowa, and they say, look, we've had cold weather now and then, but this is about as bad as it ever gets. So even for the hardy people of Iowa, this is going to be a really, really bad weather event. But I'm ready for it. I'm up for it. I've got everything I need, including a 4-wheel drive truck with brand new tires on it. So we're ready to go.
What kind of snacks you packing there,
Wilson?
Oh,
listen, I can't reveal that because Cabana Wife might be listening.
Okay. All right. Everyone inundate Brian Wilson with telephone calls and super text, begging him to tell you the snacks that he's taking to Des Moines, Iowa, or wherever he goes in Iowa. All right, Brian Wilson is coming up next with a full 4 hours, a preview of Monday, obviously, and every bit of the news that you need to know about this Friday afternoon. He's on the ones batting down the hatches. Get ready for that snow coming on Monday. And until then, at high noon on Monday, we'll be back with you. Matt Murphy saying, so long, everybody.